tell
Yes.
you, I have enjoyed my life here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would rather live here. I feel, let me tell you one thing I also learned. No, the only thing I miss in Kenya is really visiting the
Uh-huh.
serene, relaxing calmness in the countryside, you know?
Yes. And I want to go straight to something you mentioned earlier, and I just glossed past it because I want to come back to it, which is you mentioned roads when you talked about systems. Oh, I enjoyed the smooth road. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a huge factor. Like we're talking about infrastructure here, right?
Infrastructure, yeah.
So infrastructure. So you as an individual, it's important to you that you have these conveniences. Is that right? And
Absolutely.
enough, actually important to you enough for you to trade, and by trade I mean living and immersing yourself into this society of the United States, and start actually call it home because of the level of importance you give these conveniences. Can you talk a little more about that? Because you just mentioned it in passing.
You know
Roads
what?
and what else?
Well, just infrastructure. I just feel like everything is so accessible. Like for every
Accessible. Yes, you said that.
geographical area, there's always a park, there's
Mhm.
always a grocery shop, there's always a shopping area. So everything is always central. I'm sure everyone in business is always trying to make sure that they open their business around where there's community of people living. So I love that convenience. And if I just want something, I can quickly get into the car and go. I don't think I enjoyed or had that experience in Kenya. Even if you had a car, it would be like a long trip to me. Like get into the car. Some places the roads are not just flat and smooth. Some places, if you want to visit someone, it might be a bumpy ride, and then others, oh, this is a nice smooth ride. So it's like,
Yes.
if I'm to
Yes.
live here and I'm
Yes.
to be in a community, to visit
Yes.
everybody, I need
Yes.
a Land Rover where, my ride
Yeah.
will not be too bumpy.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, and you say
Infrastructure,
this,
like you
and
said,
you,
it's so important.
yeah, that's
It
what I'm
has
saying.
become important to me.
And what I'm picking up from like just how you talk about these things, is kind of like light hearted, but it's just what I'm picking up, and you tell me, is so important to you, because this is conveniences. This is, just lifestyle. This is, how you want to live, and your roots, your home doesn't provide these things enough for you to be able to say, you know what, I'm okay, actually, coming back and living here, and actually, working here and making my money here and helping here, like, directly and stuff like that. So these things, the reason why I want to bring this up again is where this is not up to just an individual. These are the kind of things, the systems and structures and infrastructure. We mentioned roads. We've not even touched healthcare
Oh yeah,
accessibility, because I want
I
to
was
go with
thinking
that
about
word of
that.
access. So these are taken care of more by bigger institutions, aka government, right? So politically, how connected are you in knowing or hearing, whether it's social media, whether it's friends, family, on the level of government involvement in helping with these massive things that are beyond just an individual bringing about the change?
Yeah, actually, I had lived in United States for about 10
By 20,
years.
20, yes,
10
okay,
before visiting. So when we
okay.
visited,
Hmm.
I was already married, so we went to my husband's place, and now I was visiting um my mom's side.
Uh-huh.
And I remember we had
Hmm.
our first daughter, and they were doing construction. Oh my God, it
Oh,
was a
okay, okay.
long
Oh, so you were in the
ride.
States for 10 years before you visited the
Yeah.
first time. Okay,
hmm
yeah, got it.
So we
Mhm.
went to visit. Oh my goodness. The whole way, almost 70% of the ride, the road was horrible.
Bumpy, yeah.
It
Hmm.
was
Yeah.
bumpy. But I'll tell you,
Hmm.
10 years, well, not 10 years, but the next time I visited, oh my God, the roads are perfect. Like
Yeah,
smooth
okay.
all the way
That
from
was
one city
progress.
to, oh, there's
Hmm.
so much progress, by the way.
Hmm.
Even
Hmm.
especially the capital city. I was like, wow,
Hmm.
this really looks like United States. They're
Hmm.
highways.
Hmm.
So in as much as I'm saying all this, it's not as bad as
Hmm.
I may. But of
Hmm.
course, when you
Hmm.
start getting into family, visiting family here, friends there,
General access,
yeah,
yeah.
I just feel
Hmm.
like why
Hmm.
can't this infrastructure be improved everywhere? So,
Hmm.
so you may
Hmm.
have 5%, but
Hmm.
we'll get there one day. We're just not there yet. But there's a
Hopefully.
lot of improvement. I mean, I do
Hmm.
see traffic lights, and people are also obeying those traffic lights. A long time ago we
Hmm.
used to see them, but nobody was
Hmm.
following the
Hmm.
rules.
Hmm.
But yeah, now
Hmm.
now
Hmm.
I do see a
Hmm.
lot of improvement. Let me just say
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that because as people are listening, it's important that you bring up the fact that it's not that you don't see improvement.
Yeah.
It's at this point in your life, right?
hmm
You have that opportunity, to compare two places, that you can quote unquote make work. Like,
Yeah.
because if you really, really must, you can live in Kenya, right? It's not like it's impossible. But the fact that you
Absolutely.
have access to two and you're choosing
hmm
one,
Yeah.
you're choosing it because of these things that are important to you right
hmm
now. Not
Right
10
now.
years
Yeah.
from now, not 20
Yeah.
years from now, but right now. And that has to be understood. So I'm glad you mentioned the fact that,
Yeah.
between your first visit and the second visit, there was already a difference. So there's
Really a
progress,
big
just
difference.
slow,
There's
right?
there's there's a lot of big progress, and actually it surprised me.
Mm.
So yeah, it did surprise me. So, and I also noticed that they now have access to health insurance, which is good, which
Okay.
is something
Okay.
was not there in 10 years
Hmm.
ago. So that's a lot of improvement and a lot of order. I
Hmm.
mean,
Order. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, as
Hmm.
far as,
Hmm.
trash not just everywhere, but
Hmm. Hmm.
so
Hmm. Hmm.
there's a lot of Western influence, which is good.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of improvement, I must say, from the
Hmm.
time I
Hmm.
left the country.
Again, that's so good that you mentioned that,
hmm
right? Where, again, you have that you have a whole other home to compare it to. You live here, right? And so you see the vast difference. But being able to connect back and see that there's been improvement just tells me how, connected you are to, like, seeing these things actually have that little growth. Should be
hmm
faster, hopefully it is.
Yeah.
But here at STEM to Roots, actually, these are the kind of things we want to bring up, right? Where because we have family at home, we have our teachers, especially you that came out after high school. You have neighbors, so you want their lives improved. And have you had conversations around your circle here in as individuals, how or what can we do being away from the continent? It can be whatever it is, right? What can we do to also say, in the middle of all this improvement, mostly, based on bigger institutions helping us with this, like government, as individuals, have you thought about what we can do to also say we've contributed, we've done, what we can? We also want to see this progress happen. Have you had conversations like that around your circle?
You know what? I'm surrounded with men like to talk about politics, right? So they're always following what's going on, who should be the next, and you could even sense the the opposition. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We're
Yes.
here by
Yes.
people in Kenya.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But even whether I don't specifically go watch the news and follow, a lot of
Hmm.
people around me are watching and talking,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
some even have political ambition of going back and just
Yeah. Yeah.
bringing this
Yeah.
change. The life we
Yes.
enjoy here, can it also be made the same in
Mm.
Kenya?
Mm.
So, but I've
Mm.
also kind of noticed, okay, this is not the biggest percentage, but just the few people
Hmm.
I've seen who've tried to take their ambition
Hmm.
to Kenya, I don't think they're really embraced and welcomed. Like, oh, you from
Oh.
states come here, you think you know how
Oh.
to fix us, you know?
Oh.
I don't
Yeah.
know, but if they can just be open minded to also include these people who've traveled the world, seen,
Hmm.
because let me
Hmm.
give you an example. There was a
Yes.
time I was visiting some place in Africa, and it was just a tour, and I noticed, this type of people, a child grows and all they see is the only ambition that is presented to them is to
Hmm.
be a headsman, like, have more cows. So they're not even thinking beyond,
Ah.
hey, do you know
Mm.
beyond here there are
Mm.
buildings, and
Mm.
so they
Mm.
should at least embrace that there are people who've traveled outside, the same
So.
place.
So.
They've gone, they've
Mm.
seen how politics is done. It's clean
Yes.
politics, how,
Yes.
everything is
Yes.
accessible, no
Yes.
corruption
Yes.
here, and
Yes.
everything is
Yes.
accessible. Like I said,
Yes.
we're used to, you
Hmm.
must know who to get this, I mean,
Hmm.
some
Hmm.
simple things, even as death certificate, it's so hard to get sometimes in Africa, but here,
Yes.
very well, it's straightforward, and this can even affect people mentally, financially, because sometimes, they have to wait for this, for succession to take over, to take care of their children.
Yes.
It's not easy,
Yes.
but I just hope that people in Africa can have that open mind. Hey, you've traveled the world. What
Uh-huh.
do you want to? Because I
What can
don't
you?
see
What are you
them.
bringing in?
Yeah,
I.
unless
I. I
unless you've
mm.
studied to be a lawyer though and had big experience, that's when they accept you. But let them have this open mind and accept also these people
So.
who
So
who
you're
want to
pointing
live there.
out. You're pointing out that okay. Yes, you've seen people have that ambition, even political ambition,
Yeah.
and people have that aim to be able to be helpful. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a certain level of, there I call it stigma, like because the question that comes mostly, and I know this because we're all from the same continent. There's a lot of similarity there.
Yeah.
The perception that is put on somebody who has left the continent and now wants to connect back to do something is, people questioning, oh, you think you're better, or you think
Yeah.
you know more, or now you
Uh-huh.
travel, you think you so that alone can make somebody like pull back,
Yeah.
the level of, whatever it is that they wanted to contribute, that can
Mm-hmm.
affect, how much they want to do that. So
Yeah.
you're encouraging that at home people should be slightly more open-minded in letting that person who has experienced something other than what is just at home
Yeah.
bring the outside in, right?
Yes.
You mentioned something that I find very, very interesting. You gave an example of kids growing up that that they don't dream beyond what is just around them.
Yeah.
Like, hey, grow up and just be a bigger herdsman than the that other family, and you have more cows, right? When, yes, as great as that is, because from generation to generation that has been around that kid's family, uh, uh, opening the kid's mind to a world bigger than
Then.
just cows,
Mm-hmm.
will at least give them that option to dream, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so also access, and don't you think that is happening slightly more, like all the other improvements that you mentioned? Don't you think now with access, whether it's phone, whether it's internet and stuff like
Absolutely.
that,
Yes.
that people are having slightly more, like, like bigger dreams now than what is
Absolutely.
just around them.
Thank you.
Mm,
Thank you for bringing that up. As you were speaking, I was like, thank God
mhm,
for,
mhm,
you
mhm,
know,
mhm,
globalization.
mhm,
We
mhm,
have the
mhm,
phones, we have all
mhm,
these quick, short videos that are very
mhm,
motivating, and
mhm.
people can see, oh, wow, I can do that. Oh, it is
Yeah,
possible.
yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
don't even need money. All I have to do is
Mm,
put my mind into it, small things
mm,
here and here to build up. I'll get
mhm,
connected and things will work out at the end. So yes,
mm,
I do love the internet that has
mhm.
made that possible for people to dream beyond just raising
To see
cows.
beyond what just
Yeah,
their surrounding is. Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm,
So yes, that's a very good
mm.
point. But I want to go back also to
Yes,
politics, right? Because I
yes,
was
yes.
thinking I admire how politics is done here. Of course,
Hmm.
politics is, it has
Rough
its
everywhere,
good,
but yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
the way I like how here it's done, you have a
Hmm.
party, and this
Hmm.
party raises the money and they help
Hmm.
out with the campaign. But I
Hmm.
don't see that in Africa. It's like you have to be a big baller. And now you use your whole family's investment
Yes,
to
yes,
to follow your ambition of
yeah,
politics. And
yes,
sometimes, you may use your everything and don't even get a
yes.
seat, but all your
Most,
family's investment has been put into politics.
yes,
And then,
yes,
we kind of have this culture of, people just show up in your house and you have to feed them. And this is money just going. But I
yes,
just love how here things are straightforward. We're here, business.
yes,
Are
yes,
we, where are
yes,
we going to campaign?
yes,
And I just love how politics is done here. And politics is not every day where you're always meeting everywhere. That's money.
uh-huh. Here you are. So you're mentioning something again that requires just, the mindedness of bringing the outside in. So
Yeah.
as you were talking about it, now I'm thinking about it because you're mentioning Kenya, but I go broader than that. So I start thinking about my country and other countries that I know, on the west side. And I married somebody from Zimbabwe, so I start thinking about
Nice.
what I know about their country. So, and the continent is the same when it comes to that level of politics, where if a candidate has to have money enough for them, to actually run because they need the money. We know how that goes. Then that actually narrows down the pool of how many good candidates are out there that can be great at doing the job, but they can't afford to do
Yeah,
politics.
absolutely.
And basically it's leaving out really smart, really talented, really capable people that can actually help with the country and the continent. If
Absolutely.
the system change a little bit, in having a structure, that actually can have parties that can pick a very good candidate, not based on what their economical status or their pockets, but based on just like a movement helping one
Yeah.
person rise. That
Yeah.
I hope this access to conversation like this will actually stimulate new ideas where we
Mhm.
look at things differently. Because one thing is for sure, what we have in place right now is not working fast enough.
It isn't.
We both have seen that it's working, but very slowly. That's why you highlighted all that progress. Health insurance. Why
Yeah.
are we talking about Kenya having beginning to have health insurance, and we celebrate it now? When
Hmm.
you live in a country where health insurance has been spoken about over 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So we are celebrating something that, like, somebody from here, from the United States, will say, "What? That is that you're talking about health insurance? Is that not, is not that something
Supposed to
you're
be.
born with?" Another kind of thing. And so there's slow progress, and we have to admit to that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love this conversation because of that. We want to bring these things that hopefully, as more people listen, it stimulates, that thought process of what
Yeah.
can we do, from information, from sharing ideas, to actually implementing them. You're coming up
Absolutely.
with stuff, and
I didn't even know I'll talk about politics, but
impressive.
but that's what I've noticed. I just feel
Hmm.
like, I don't want to call it a dirty game because it's a needful thing to happen. I
Yes.
just feel
Yes.
like the process can be made easier. But
Listen.
although
Listen.
sometimes when I think
Mhm.
about this country that we admire, it's been here for a while. So
Yes.
I feel like,
Yes.
we're
Yes.
still young. We're making
Yes.
progress.
Yes.
At least we're
Yes.
making progress than being stuck.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yes, we still want to emphasize, let not the change stop. Let it keep on moving, right?
We're not blind to this, and again,
Mm,
I'm glad you bring that up. We're not blind to what has happened between the West, between America and the continent, where we're talking about countries that are 50 years old, right? Where countries are like so we know this, right? So we know that Africa has a lot of young countries as far as independence goes, and so there's a lot we're catching up to, right?
yeah.
But bringing these ideas like a hose pipe is something that is gonna, you know, hopefully gather more people, more ideas in knowing, at least the potential of where we're headed. That's
Absolutely.
why I love the fact that we've been exposed to seeing when something works,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
For instance, the example you gave, like let's say, hey, here's a system in place, here's a structure, here's a flow in place for you to need a driver's license and get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if I've been I've been home where there was a time that I needed a passport at home, and there was no straight line to getting the passport, right? Or let's say it exists, it just fades, right?
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, what I got was, let's look for who can help with this faster, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that person helping with getting the passport faster, all right, let's see how much we can give them just to thank them for doing it for us. So this is a government document that I have the right to accessing, but the straight line has faded,
Yep.
right? And so if that's what's in place, then I get my passport faster than somebody else that doesn't have that money to give to get it
I
faster.
know. Yeah.
So these are things that don't have anything to do or have little to do with America being, over 200 years old versus a 50-year-old nation. It has all to do with how fast can we get to, bringing these structures in place and actually following the rules and stuff, you know.
You know
And
what?
and this is what I want to bring up in these conversations here.
But I was thinking about something else.
Yes.
Okay, I do like the access and the books that the children
Yes.
read in this country, right? Because the other day I
Huh.
was reading with my
Education.
daughter,
Yeah. Uh,
and this book, I was very fascinated. It had a lot of quotes, right?
mhm,
So
mhm.
now that you've mentioned this, I also feel like we as individuals have a part to
Mhm.
play. Like, we cannot always
That's what I want
say
to.
the
That's what I want
leader,
to
the
hear.
leader, the leader. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Because
Yes.
sometimes when people start complaining about
Mm-hmm.
security, what does
Mm-hmm.
the government have to do with that? Isn't the people? Isn't the people? As
Mm-hmm.
in, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes. Yes. Is it not the responsibility of people to live in an orderly manner and just have integrity? Yes. Yep.
absolutely. Like, why
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
can't we, like people say, following the rule of the law, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like now when you're going to get a passport, the president is not there, but the people
Yes.
there are the
Mm-hmm.
ones.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so it can get complicated, right?
It
Like
can
when
get
people,
complicated.
yes, because
Yes.
people say
Yes.
this, they say, please pay the police good money so that they don't have to stop people and ask them for bribes, right?
Yes.
Because that's what they
Yes.
say. But I'm
Yes.
also
Yes.
concerned too. What if you look at the salary they're getting paid compared to
Yes.
those who
Yes.
have nothing? Isn't it better than nothing? So
Mm-hmm.
why should we always have to increase our income by bribing people? Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if you
Mm-hmm.
don't give me this bribe, then you're going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
another different story, and it will take. So you
Mm-hmm.
just pay.
Yeah.
But then
So
I'm just
yeah.
feeling
Mm-hmm.
like, so I was trying to find, that thing that they say, that saying they say, it's not what the country can do for you. but what you
Yes.
can do for the country. I really
Yes.
feel if
I think it's John F.
everyone,
Kennedy that said that first. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
how about we
Hmm.
do that? Like, let it be an individual decision, because like everyone start, because these same people, if they start this corruption at home, school,
Hmm.
here, by the time they get these political seats or any government office seats, they're gonna try and just get money from people.
It becomes a case of having to enrich themselves.
Yeah, so I really think we need to stop pointing fingers, the leader, the leader. Let's all
Yeah.
just say,
Yes.
what can I do
Let's
for the
take the
country?
responsibility.
Yeah.
Yes. So again, here you are encouraging not only people that live in the continent and they've not left yet, but us as citizens of where we come from, figure out how we can take a certain level of responsibility in also what
Absolutely.
we contribute, how we go about our societal norms to actually bring these small improvements. And
Absolutely.
what an interesting conversation we are having. There's a whole lot of things that obviously we can't touch on within an hour,
Yeah.
but these are the kind of things that I want to bring up. I want us to talk about, because here you are in summing this up, left the country right after high school, came to the United States, access to college, lived here with family, got married, have two wonderful daughters, and all of that contributed, all that time, 24 years contributed to you being able to compare where you live now and where you're from. And
Hmm.
you have enough on one side of the scale to say, right now, this point in my life, this is where I want to live. But at the
Absolutely.
same time, we want to mention how great it is, to come from where we come from. Actually, a first step in even having somewhere to compare where we live to. We all
Yeah.
have friends here in the States who
Uh-huh.
have no comparison of the States to anything else. So
Hmm.
that alone makes us lucky to actually be able to compare it to someplace else. What I
Absolutely.
love more about the things that you talked about are highlight improvements that you've seen, highlight great things about where we come from, but also bring up solutions like the open mindedness, like people able to take responsibility and help bit by bit, and
Yeah.
people actually being involved and they don't have to be at home. Just change
Hmm.
the life of people that you come across, whether it's when you're visiting and or whether it's family and stuff. And this is what I love about the things that you brought up. Is there anything you want to add to this summary that I just gave? Did that bring up anything that you think you didn't mention that you want to talk about?
Okay, so okay, this is probably, it's probably gruesome example to use, but it's so funny. I was just reading the other day
Yes.
the story of how the Israelites were, moving from Egypt, the
Hmm.
story from the Bible,
Yes. Yes.
that they were being moved from Egypt to this promised land.
The promised land. Yeah. Hmm.
So, but along the way, there's challenges. So we are
Yes.
all going to this promised land, but along the way, there's challenges. But as
Hmm.
the challenges come, they were complaining, we want to go back to Egypt where there were
Hmm.
cucumbers and all that. We don't want to go
Yes.
through this, right? But
Uh,
in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm not judging them, because it's a reflection of me. When you read
yes.
it,
Yes.
teaches you something. And I was like,
Yes.
wow, these people want to go back to slavery,
Hmm.
so I feel like some people are ambitious, that I want to
Hmm.
go somewhere where there's more opportunity, and so sometimes that's how I feel, like I've been
Yes.
brought to the land of opportunity. Why should I
Yes.
go back where there's no
I see. I see.
you
Yes.
know
Yes.
but
Yes.
there'll be a time
Yes.
when the opportunity comes, but right now this is the land of opportunity. But also, I'm not trying to say that everybody, you know your life is doomed if that door is
Yes.
not
If you're
opened.
not, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but don't give up. Don't give up in whatever you do too. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much for all the things that you brought up. Something interesting that you mentioned towards the end there, in actually highlighting what is home versus here, is the fact that we can't gloss over the fact that you are somebody who has actually seen both worlds and made your choice right now. You have hope for Africa. I want to be fair to you. You have hope for Africa. You've seen good things happening. You've seen improvements. Just that at this time in your life with two daughters, you know this is the best that you can give them. Because something you highlighted that I thought was interesting is land of opportunities. So if you as an individual owe it to yourself to maximize what you can get for yourself and your family and put yourself in a good place, the land of opportunity here is not something that, in all honesty, can be compared to Kenya at this moment. And so
Absolutely.
you're choosing to maximize what you can get.
Absolutely.
It, and if that is how you see it, people will know it's only fair that this conversation was all centered around what your choice is. Would you say that's the case?
Thank you. And I thank you that you said that I'm not the only one, right?
No, you're not. And that's why we're bringing this up. You're not the only one. You're not alone.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
not alone. But just to conclude,
Yes.
like I was saying,
Mhm.
having read and known the story of how Israelites were being put into a promised land, they were foreigners, going to be a foreigner in the land of the promised land. So I do feel like I have been brought to the promised land. So why should I
Fair.
continue to go back?
Yeah.
But at
Yeah.
least I can contribute back. And in
Yes.
what way?
Yes.
I haven't figured out, the tangible way, but the only best way I feel I can give back, not just to my country, but just everyone else,
Yes.
is just to
Continent.
inspire hope
Yes.
and confidence. You can
Yes.
prosper wherever you are.
Yes.
Don't give up.
Yes.
Everything builds
Yes.
up. You do this, it will all work out at the end. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Anne. This is great, and I hope as this conversation continues to evolve, if there's anything you deem important for us to share, because just like you said, continue to inspire, continue to educate, continue to just share that information and knowledge you have. I hope if anything that you feel is worth knowing comes in mind, I hope you can always come back, because this is STEM2Roots. You're more than qualified to come here at any time.
Thank you. Are you sure you're giving me that offer? Because I
You are
don't want to come
100% welcome anytime. Anytime.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your perspective is so interesting, because you say things lightheartedly but just honest, and I love the honesty part of it. You just plain honest, and I love that. Thank you so much
You're welcome.
for actually accepting this invitation.
Thank you.